Welcome to the stage once again, my friend. How are you doing?
Dude, I'm super good, man. I'm pumped to be here. We're gonna have some fun today.
Absolutely. Hey, thank you so much for your time. I know you're a busy guy. It seems like you're omnipresent. I see your content, all of your videos all over the place. I'm like, how does this guy churn out so much content? Maybe that's the way to start because there's a lot of people who are struggling to put
Yeah.
even one post, one video.
Yeah, man. I think the first piece is how do you view content is really important. So I view content as a way to actually bring in new leads, to nurture leads, and to move leads towards a close. And it helps the entire sales process. So I see it as super high leverage because it's permissionless leverage where anybody can do it. And it's really, really cool to do. So that's the first piece. So when you
Mhm.
understand that, I think that's important to internalize because some people see it as a chore, like, oh, I have to create content versus I get to create content. I'm
Mm.
going to see incredible benefits as a result of it. So that's important to just internalize. Because of that, I have some systems in place and I'll share with you what I do now.
Mhm.
And in no means is not what I started. Like when I first
Mm.
started, it was really daunting, which is like, oh man, I wake up. What am I going to write today? What am I going to film today? What am I going to put out there today? I know it's really overwhelming. And then just over time, as I studied other people and I saw what they did, like these content creators, because I don't consider
Mm.
myself a creator, but I would see what they did. I'm like, how are they producing at this level? And one
Mhm.
of the principles I learned about was almost all of them had one core pillar content, meaning some sort of long form content. It could be a podcast an interview or a live webinar, or it could be a long blog post, or it could be a long YouTube video. That pillar of content then was then spun off into like multiple different like mini posts. So they might take, say, for example, a YouTube video and turn that 60-minute YouTube video or 30-minute YouTube video or even 20-minute YouTube
Mm.
video and cut that into, say, 3, 5, 9 different video clips. They might
Mhm.
also take the transcript of it and obviously tweak and adjust it and turn that into multiple pieces like text only posts or image posts. So before you know it, that single piece of content, that pillar content, is able to create maybe 8, 10, 12, or even more posts off that single post. So when I realized that's really powerful what they're doing, that's what I started to do as well. So now what I do is every single week I create one pillar piece of content, and then that spins off into carousel posts, text posts, video posts, etc. That's spread over the next 6 months. So what
Mm.
happens is when you're really consistent, it just ends up compounding
Yeah.
because before it basically snowballs before you have so much content that you don't know what to do with it. And the key is always getting ahead. So for me, on the 20th of each month, I always plan ahead for the next month so I
Mm.
know what we're going to put out there. I know every single week, even just LinkedIn by itself, we're going to put out 19 different posts. We'll do at least 7 to 14 every single week. Same with Facebook. And we'll have at least one YouTube video, long form, and we'll have 7 different shorts as a result. So we're putting out literally hundreds of pieces of content each month as a result of it. But because I'm always ahead, so for example, on Tuesday, my content day, I batched all the work and I did my long form YouTube video and I wrote the post, but I'm actually writing for 3 weeks in advance. So I'm always ahead. If I have a week on vacation or just gets crazy, I can't get any of my content done, I still have a huge buffer. So I don't have the
Mm.
pressure of waking up and what to actually put out there. And the cool part is because I've created these systems and buffer in place, this allows me to be really intentional with the content. So it's really high value. It helps
Mhm.
serve the audience, it helps generate leads, helps bring people into my world, it helps nurture people as well. So this becomes super powerful. But the key is having the systems in place and then putting people in place to take care of that. So, for example, all I need to do now is like I create the content, I put it inside ClickUp. We use ClickUp to manage everything from project management.
Mhm.
I don't need to schedule it. I don't need to edit it. I don't need to do anything else. My team takes over and they do everything else. They do
Wow.
video, they do everything else, and they get it all scheduled, and then my executive assistant manages them to make sure they get all that stuff done. So I don't need to worry. I just need to be the creation of the core content to put
Mhm.
out there for them and structure where if I wanna maybe do a promo 1 week, but for something, it's structured in a way where they just gotta schedule it. They don't need to think. Makes it very easy.
Amazing. That's genius. And I think when you talk about Tuesday content and the batch creation, and you're 3 weeks in advance, you're always ahead of the game, which is
100%.
very different from most entrepreneurs. How long are you recording? Is that like a full day, half day? Is that 1 hour?
Yeah, I made a pivot with YouTube. So before, with some of the videos, I would script the whole thing out. I want to be very tight and succinct and get it down to 14, 15 minutes. But I'll say over the last month or two, I've had a pivot where
Mm,
I really felt like, what do I really enjoy? I
mm,
personally really like longer videos that are just very
mm.
robust and full of content. And I found, yeah, people say, oh, people don't have attention anymore. They don't
Yeah.
have to do bad content. That's what I found. So the content's
Mhm.
really good. People will listen to a 3-hour podcast. This is why like Huberman Labs is like 3, 4
Mm,
hours per episode because people will find it very useful. So
mhm,
that's why my favorite podcasts are almost always super long. And I'm like, I want more people like that in my world that really enjoy that type of stuff
mm.
too. So I'm something great too. Now I'll take about probably about an hour just at least get my bullet points, my key points dialed, where I'll take time to write in the hook, write in the intros, write in the outros, and get my core bolts down. And then I'll take about an hour or less to record the video. So I just turn the camera on and I just go. So Tuesday, I record a video and end up being like 59 minutes long. Now I had errors in there, so they're gonna trim it down.
Yeah,
It'll
yeah.
probably end up being like probably like 35 minutes in the grand scheme of things. But
Sure.
uh, it's about probably 2 hours for just that. But then the rest of the time, I'm also writing out the content posts and just making sure like there's copy for all the videos as well. So there's copy for all the main posts as well. I've tried using AI to try different tools. I don't want to name the tools, but like they're still not the level where it's like good enough that I feel comfortable saying, all right, I'm gonna use a tool and just have it write me a post and put it out there.
Amazing. When you do the recording and you do the 1 hour recording, was that like just you sitting in front of a DSLR, or do you have a camera crew that comes in and helps produce and direct?
Great question. Literally, this I find you have to remove the friction to getting started. That's really, really key. So, for example, I
Mm,
have a DSLR right here. It's directly
mm,
streaming. It's already plugged in. So
yeah.
I can go right to OBS. All I need to do is hit click and it starts recording. And then it uploads automatically to Google Drive. So I want to minimize any friction in getting started. So like I found before when I was trying to create videos, I'm like, okay, where am I going to put the camera? Let me get the
Yeah,
lights
yeah, yeah.
right. Let me get the
Yeah.
mic set up versus I need to like, I'm not trying to be a content creator. I want to provide massive value to people that want to crush it in sales. So I'm like, okay, like I have a good camera ready, I have a good mic, hit record, boom, and let's go.
So when you say did you like zap it in terms of like you said OBS, DSLR, automatic uploads to Google Drive. So you integrated an automation where once it does that, you don't need to do anything. It just automatically goes into a Google Drive.
Actually, even simpler.
Really?
The DSLR, it's a cam link like 4K, connects right into this dock I have for my MacBook.
Mm.
So it's directly streaming already inside there. So when I use OBS, I set the camera setting to the camera, but I just change where it saves a file. So it saves a file
Ah,
automatically in a very specific Google Drive.
I see.
So that way
Yep.
it's literally record and then boom, it just uploads right in Google Drive automatically once it's done. And then I'll relabel it and I'll move it to a different folder. So this way it's easy to find. But that's how I do it. I make it as easy and simple as possible.
Mm. I think that's how you got so good at sales, is because when I was at a Shark Tank pitch fest yesterday at my daughter's Christian private school, and there was 8 people who were trying to get investor funds,
Mhm,
and out of the 8, only 3 of them won investor money, and the other 5 did not know how to make their solution, their product or service easy,
mhm.
and the buyer journey was just like it was not really that great. So when you're removing friction, that increases sales. So I'm going to do a pivot because I saw your content, and I'm just thinking like you have a great system, a framework that you could probably sell content, or you valuable content that converts into high ticket sales, right?
Mhm,
If you did a workshop, 100K right there, right?
mhm,
Because what you do, it works and people want it.
mhm.
But when you're removing the friction and you're talking about this high value, it's super powerful, like you said, quality and quantity. When you do this, like you said, you're buying back your time before we got on this call. How are you closing at 55% with a shocking 98% show up rate? This is over not 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. I believe I counted 6 months, and there
Mhm,
was 1 month where there was a very low, I can't remember what it was, close rate. And you even averaged that. So it
mhm.
was very conservative numbers. So how do you do that? How do you, when we look under the hood,
Yeah.
I just talked to a gentleman who has a company that's $24 million. They're doing a lot of business, and their reps are only doing 10 to 15% close rate.
Yeah.
What's going on? What's the secret sauce?
Yeah, I wish I could say it's one single thing, but it's usually a lot of little things that kind of add up to make a really big deal. And I'm gonna go in sequential order, which is like you can't have a good close rate if you don't have a good show up rate. Like
Yeah,
that,
absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah. Well said.
If they don't show up, you're going to be having a very lonely conversation on Zoom or in person, right? And I'm going to talk about it from the perspective of a salesperson, but also as a business owner, which you can do as
Mhm,
well.
mhm,
So, from a salesperson's perspective, if they're doing outbound, the first thing is like when they're on the phone live with that person, like just making sure it's really firmly locked down the meeting. So, meaning the
mhm,
mistake some people make is they say the prospect says, "Okay, sure, I'll have a conversation at Friday at 10 o'clock."
mhm,
And the rep says, "Great, I'm gonna send you an invite. I'm gonna see you later." Click, hang up, on to the next thing, right? So instead of doing that, take a few minutes and just really relock it back down and make it just
mhm,
very simple. So it sounds something like this. So, hey, so cool, awesome. So let me go ahead and let me send you an invite right now for Friday at 10 o'clock. I just sent over to this email, whatever the email is. Did you get that? I did. Cool. Hey, can you go ahead and accept that? Yes, great.
mm,
Awesome. Cool. Hey, I'm looking forward to seeing you at Friday at 10 o'clock. Now, if something pops between now and Friday at 10 o'clock, can I give you my cell number in case something changes? You can just give me a quick buzz or shoot me a quick text. Would that be okay? Sure.
mm,
Great. My cell number is whatever it is. Again, this is Marcus with Bentley. And again, I'm looking forward to seeing you Friday at 10 o'clock. Boom.
mm.
That's the first piece. A couple of things to notate there. Number one, if you notice, I said Friday at 10 with that time several times.
Mhm.
So I
Yeah,
want to just burn it into memory, if
yeah,
you will. The second piece is I'm having them accept the invite on the spot. So this
yes.
way I know for sure I went to the right email, number one, but also it's a micro commitment to it.
Mm,
And then I'm asking them to write my phone number down, which is again another micro commitment, whether they do it or not. But if they
mm,
do it, hopefully they're writing down Marcus, my number, then also Friday at 10 o'clock. So again, it's getting them to just take these micro commitments to do that. So that's the first piece as a sales
yeah,
professional.
yeah, yeah.
The second piece is once you get done with that, it could be later that day or after someone books a call, we send them a personal video to put a face to the name, right?
Really?
A personal video, 100%. So
Wow.
this way it cuts through the noise a little bit. The cool part is there's so many amazing tools out there. Like we just use Loom, right? Now
Mm,
we use a paid plan, but you can use a free plan. So we
yeah.
literally pull up their LinkedIn profile. We have our cameras on just like this. We
Mhm,
record a quick Loom video to put a face to the name and just to remind about the call. So you can say
mm,
whatever you want. So for example, like if we get an inbound call, we say something like this. We say, "Hey Jay, Marcus here. Just saw you booked a call on account. Look forward to chatting with you on date and time. You probably saw as well after you booked a time. We sent a few different emails from a Google Doc to some videos. Please review that before we hop on a call next week or Friday at 8 or 10 because it covers the most commonly asked questions people usually have about potentially working with us and some free bonus trains in there too. Looking forward to chatting super
mm.
soon. If you don't mind, reply back, confirm you get the Zoom link in your calendar. That'd be great, just in case there's any tech issues. Thanks. Again, this reaffirms it. And then like, okay, cool. This is like a legit real person, right? And obviously, you want to be somewhat decent on the camera. If you sound
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you're like, "Hey, my name is Marcus," they're going to see that and they're like, "Oh, this guy is boring. I don't want to have a conversation." But if they
Yeah,
can
yeah,
feel
yeah.
a little bit of your vibe, it's going to increase the chances.
Mm,
We do that. And then that's what we do as like a sales professional. Now, then again, the day before, you can also shoot them a quick message, confirm if you haven't heard back at that point, confirm that they're good for the call. Right now, as a business owner, I also get the luxury and privilege of putting systems in place that's going to help increase the show up rate. Right. So, for example, like once a call is booked, we have automation on the back end that puts them to a very mini nurture sequence. So that's really important. So, for example, in the high ticket world, once they book an inbound call on the thank you show them a video, kind of show them what to expect. There's a case study, and we answer all the most commonly asked questions even on the thank you page. So this way, when they go through, okay, cool, this makes a lot of sense. We provide them a document that also it has a bunch of FAQs in there. It just covers all the most commonly asked questions they're going to have anyways. So we're just
mm,
covering in advance. We also handle any objections in advance as well that they might be worried about, and we prove everything.
mm.
So, for example, a lot of people are concerned about, oh, I get results, no problem. So, I think even as the document's crazy, it's like 100 plus pages. We know they're not going to
Whoa.
do all of it, but if they do,
Wow.
we're going to see like probably at least like 50 or 60 different like, screenshots, testimonials, and case studies. And then we also have links inside that whole doc to other videos to answer
Mm,
really commonly asked questions they're not sure about. Because again, like,
mm,
people are really skeptical. So we want to make it easy for them to like just get on the call and be open-minded. If they get on the call and they're not open-minded, it's really hard to have a conversation.
yeah,
So
yeah,
like,
yeah.
for example, the offer we sell to salespeople, sometimes they're like, what's the platform look like? So we like it's inside the doc. They can say, "Hey, you curious about what the platform looks like?" We show them. So we walk them through a 15-minute video, and it shows them like the ins and outs. Shows them who's inside, or what's inside, what the curriculum is. So we're just removing that type of objection. Or they're like, "Can I see what a coaching call is like?" No
Mm,
problem. Here's another link. And we give them like a 2-hour session. They can see the types of questions, types of people are on the call, how it's structured, and what's the environment energy like.
wow.
So my point is like any objections they have, we're actually
Yeah.
eliminating 99% of them before they even get asked. So it's
Wow.
very intentional, right? So that's on a thank you page with that doc. And then that first email, it's like, hey, you just booked a call. Here's also that same page, and here's also that doc. So now they can go through, they can like, it just helps reaffirm that they're like hoping to see out of the conversation. So it's really, really powerful because again, we're just eliminating objections in advance by simply doing that. And then we send them over the next couple of days, other stuff like it's a full blown like case study written in an email, proof points, screenshots, and proof. Some value as well. So this way, it's like when they get to the call, they should be like, all right, look, I'm open to this. I just want to make sure like this is what works well for me. That's it. So like by doing that, the show rate is wildly high. So and if people can't make it, they almost always just let us know in advance. Like, hey, listen, this popped up. We
Yeah,
had a
yeah.
leak today in my house, like a water leak. So literally, I'm dealing with plumbers all day. So I'll really have a call. Can we do it later this week? No problem. It's way better to be able to reschedule that versus just not showing up. So this is something we've tweaked over the years. So I took a look, even including May. I think we're like 100% show up rate so far, and then rolling 6 months now, quite high because of that. So that makes it really, really powerful. All right. Now, what's also key as well too, as part of that process, is part of your application, part of the intake form you have, it needs to disqualify people so
Mm,
they can't book a call. So like this way, you only get the best people on the call, so you don't wait, right?
yeah.
Because usually, I think I don't know what it is, but it's been extremely high. I would say usually we're 90% plus. So going like 98, 100 is actually strange. I'm like, this is crazy. I'm like, all right, it is what it is. You know, luck
That's
of the
awesome.
draw, I guess. Get a little lucky.
Well,
You
a
know?
black belt is a white belt that never gives up.
Yeah.
So let me just ask a question as I interject because that's astounding and impressive. And I like the idea that you're not just getting people on the call that are wasting your time because there are a lot of tire kickers that get on calls. And we'll try to get, I've seen people try to get on free coaching calls with me because they know that I'm offering value. And then I've had some people get on 5, 6 calls. Hey, can we do an offer clarity call? Can we do how to close more sales? Can you do a handling objections? Because I had all these different 5 disco calls that I was rotating and
Mm,
booking anywhere from 5 to 8 calls a day. And then one guy was basically like getting my coaching program with these 5, 6 calls, right? I'm like,
yeah.
we can't do this. So how do you like when you talk about the show up rate being 98%, even 100%, like that is unheard of. How many points of contact? Because I know you went through the process. I really appreciate it.
Mhm.
Do you know approximately, educated guess, like from the verbal to the text to the emails to the reminders? If you were to take an educated guess, how many points of contact, nurturing sequences, emails, SMS
Mm.
messages, verbal confirmations happen between booking the call on the call?
Yep. Cool. Let me just count. Give me a second. So
Yeah,
I'm talking
yeah.
about from a number. So let's take a look. So I know they book. They'll get email 1, email 2, email 3. Then you'll get a Calendly reminders. 1, 2, 3,
Mhm.
3 texts. Probably at least 10, I would say. At least 10 touch
Wow.
points.
And then there's a verbal part where you actually
Yeah.
confirming on call,
I would
and
consider
then
that's one of them as well.
okay.
But so most of it's automated though. Oh, actually, there's 11. I forgot to mention, like we have automation too, where after they book a call, they also get an automated voicemail drop from me as well. So it's a ringless voicemail. It's a very general one. Just says, "Hey, thanks for booking a call. Be on the lookout for this." That helps as well. So we probably have 10 or 11, right? Some of them are automations we built in as part of through like a
Mm,
Zapier build out. Some are just Calendly reminders as part of it. So that's also key too. Just having utilizing some of those too, which they know it's obviously from Calendly because it's like a
mm.
notification.
We talked about Dan Martell. Shout out to Dan Martell from Buy Back Your Time. And he says, we hire not to grow, but we hire to buy back our time. And you talked about if you could go back in time, you wish you could have hired your EA first,
Yeah.
and they're worth their keep.
Mhm.
How has, getting back your time and hiring the right people helped you to grow, scale your business?
Yeah, I first hired VAs and just make sure everyone's on the same page. I'm talking about typically like overseas VAs. So they're in like Philippines or they're in South
Mm.
America. So you're paying really an inconsequential amount versus an EA where you're paying them a decent chunk of money. Maybe it's 50, 60, 80K, 100K a year. And they're just like use a higher level type person. So when I had first hired, I hired VAs first. And VAs are really great, I'll tell you, for doing some of the work that needs to get done. Hey, you tell them what to do, and they do the work, which is amazing. They're an amazing talent resource. Um,
Mhm.
the challenge I've always found is if I need someone who had, for lack of a better term, the critical thinking skills to make high level decisions about what the role is about, it's a little bit harder to find the VA role unless you're paying obviously a lot more. So at first, it was really great having the VAs. Now I'll still just doing a lot of little things here and there that was just taking my time, just like little
Mhm.
things, even like approving content. So when we started
Mhm.
creating a lot of content, I'm like, oh my god, there's so much content for me to approve, which means like they got the YouTube video done. I'm now watching a 40-minute YouTube video to see how they did and provide feedback back.
Mhm.
Or they put up the carousel. Now I'm reviewing the carousel to give them feedback on what to tweak and sending it back to them. And those things just really add up. I just didn't really think much about that. And what's interesting was like, so then I did a time audit. This is about a year, over a year ago. I did a time audit, measured up all my time out. And I'm usually pretty good about my time. I thought I'm pretty like strict with myself. I felt like I was pretty good. Okay, this is like a 10x activity versus a 2x activity. And I did time out for 2 weeks in a row. And I categorized about like, okay, is this a $20 an hour
Mm.
task? Is this $1,000 hour task? Is this a $5,000 hour task?
Mm.
About 40% of my time was doing these 20-hour tasks.
Wow,
You
come
have
on.
no idea. It's just like
Wow.
you force yourself to measure every 15, 30 to 30 minutes.
Yeah, yeah,
It's like
yeah.
horrifying what you found out. That's why I found out. I was like horrified. Oh my God, like I should be paying someone 25, $30 an hour so I don't have to do these things. That's when I started looking for an EA. And when I found my EA Ritu, she's absolutely incredible. Once I found her and she started working for me, the really cool part was she could take care of a lot of these things I could push off my plate as I kind of trained her up. And it gave me more mental bandwidth. And that's the biggest thing. As an entrepreneur, you really don't want your days to be in back-to-back meetings. There's two types of time that I think we have. There's what I call innovator time,
Mhm.
which is like really big, deep work, things that really make the business move. And then there is inspector time, which is you be more of a manager. You do the little things you have to get done anyways. And what I didn't realize was before I had a lot of inspector time. So
Mm.
like back to back to back meetings and just approving things and just doing all I see, just making sure that the wheels mustn't fall off.
Mhm.
I didn't have enough innovator time where I could really think about my offer. I could really think about the business. I could really think about strategy. I could really think about what really needs to be done. And you need time, large blocks of time to really think and digest it. And because I'm in this back to back world, it made it really hard for me to have deep thought. So when I hired her, this allowed me to really think about what do I really need to focus on? What can I really improve? How can I improve traffic? How can I improve the offer? How can I improve other things I want to try out for the business? So that was really powerful because this allows you now to actually pause. So I'll give you a really simple example. So in earlier in Q1, I already had my EA. I already had plans to spin up a new B2B offer. Like,
Mm.
like, let's test it out. And I tested it and it didn't work. Frankly,
Mm.
just long story short, didn't work. I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
it's really interesting. But because I had time to think about it and really look at the
Mhm.
data and really look at like, why is this not working the way I think it should be working? This allowed me to take a step back and realize, hey, number one, I don't like working this audience anyways. And number two, this offer is not going to be good enough for them anyways. And what I need to do is go after these type of B2B clients instead.
Mhm.
And I need to create a different offer for that instead. And then it allowed me to completely pivot now. And now we're building up the software, this company to potentially test out with this B2B offer. So I share that because if I didn't have an EA,
Mm.
I might still be spinning my wheels trying to do this thing, not having the time to really think about it and digest. And when you have more time to think, the best ideas come when you're in the shower or you're on a walk. When you're least
Yeah, yeah.
expecting entrepreneur, if we're not careful, we're so
Yeah.
packed with meetings back to back. We don't have the time for our brains to free flow and think and get into that innovation state. So that's why for me it's been huge having that EA because now I can like really think through things, be more
Mhm.
strategic, and do things that's going to actually help grow the business at a whole new level.
Amazing. Let me pivot a little bit because when you talked about rhythm and buying back your time, and I think there's something that you have, which is a gift of focus. You're very good at auditing your time. You did that horrifying experiment where you did 15-minute audits and you realized that 40% of your activity were $20 an hour
Yeah,
activities, that is horrifying. Your wife, you have two kids, is that right?
just one. Yeah.
Oh, one son. How do you balance the number of hours that you put in? You're well known in the industry. How do you go from being this busy guy who's growing and scaling a company? And I would imagine there's lots of responsibilities to help grow and scale B2B businesses. how do you manage the time? Because you talked about the time audit with the business. Where does the family front come into
Mhm.
play? And how do you partition or block time? Are there specific times that you're not working or specific days that you're with your wife or your son? How does that work?
Good question. So I think one of the most important things you can do is you have to be crystal clear what's most important for you, and you have to eliminate everything else out, right?
Mm,
I think the mistake a lot of people make is they just try to do it all, and you can't do it all. It's
mhm,
impossible. Literally have only so much time, right?
yeah.
So you have to uncover what's really, really important for you. Years ago, I came up with a really simple principle I call the M5. M5 or 5 key buckets that if I consistently focus on these buckets every single day, I'm gonna
Mhm,
live a very rich life. And I'm not talking
mm,
about rich from a money perspective.
right,
It's
right.
rich in terms of realizing I create happiness, to create a very
Yeah,
happy,
yeah.
fulfilled, loving, joyful life, right? So the
Mm,
M5 is very simple. Every single day, I'm doing things that number one, fill my mind. So it's
mhm,
positive things, right?
mhm,
So that's making sure I read and listen to things that actually fill my mind and
mhm,
eliminate things that basically don't serve me. Number
right.
two is M is muscle. So like doing things
Mm,
that physically make me feel good, eating healthy,
mm,
working out, getting proper sleep, all
mm,
things as part of the muscle, right?
mhm,
Third M is mission. So doing
mm,
things of being clear on my why, right? Being clear
mm,
on doing things that's gonna really be really important to me. So for me, I know my why is based on the three things, which is I want to make sure I leave it. I'm influencing other people in a good way,
mhm,
not like an
mhm,
influencer way. I want to help other people. Number two is care.
mhm,
Know that whatever I do, I truly do with care, and I actually want to help them. And then number three is going to be love. I'll start
mhm,
LZ, meaning whatever I do, it's not necessarily I want to build a crazy legacy, but more so that if I could help someone in some way, shape, or whether it's my content or my paid programs or a friend or whatever, that they can help other people and change their life, have a kind of a cool ripple effect. I love
yeah,
that.
yeah.
I love
Oh,
that.
cool.
So because I'm clear on those things, right? It means every day I do the right things. Okay. And then
Mhm,
we got mind, we got muscle, we got mission, and then we got marriage, right? So
mm,
marriage, not just in the sense of your spouse, but the relationships in your life. So
mm,
imagine if every person you were married to them. This could be your best friend, this could be your kids, this could be
mm,
anyone. But it's such a deep relationship. Imagine the honeymoon stage. How are you showing up?
mm,
Are you showing up that way now?
mm,
It forces you to get really clear on who's the most important for you in your life. And the last M is money. Doing things
mm,
that will I build wealth today and in the future,
mm,
right?
mm,
So if I know that to be true and the M5 is designed this way, that means every day my calendar must reflect the M5. I live and die by the calendar. So I'm one of those crazy guys that has literally everything in my calendar.
mm.
Really like when I wake up, what I'm gonna do first, to when I'm to get my smoothie, to
Yeah, yeah.
go pick up my kids, to when I'm gonna do
Mm,
drop off, to school events, to whatever, to when we have dinner, to when we go to sleep. I have it all on my calendar, right? It's all
mhm,
pre-planned. So this allows me to compartmentalize and do what's most important for me every single day. So for me, I have very clear boundaries. So I know, like later today, I'm gonna put my calendar. This morning, my wife did drop off, right? So this morning, I
mhm,
got up at 6. I did what I wanted to do in the morning. I had my workout. I did my morning routine. I reviewed company metrics. I checked in on clients. I also reviewed some website copy. I was rewriting. I want to give myself like a 1 day to think about it. I was on social media for about 30 minutes, just making sure I engage with my buddies. And then now we're here. Let's have a smoothie. Then after this, I'm gonna do some stuff for Salesforce's Dreamforce. I'm gonna create some content for this other podcast. I have a
wow,
sales call at 2, and at 3 o'clock, I'll pick up my kid, and then I'm gonna be home.
wow.
So it's designed intentionally, and then I'm gonna make dinner, okay, at 5:30.
Mm. You gonna make dinner too? Come
I'm gonna
on.
make dinner, right, 100%.
What?
So it's all built in, so I'm like, "I'm gonna make dinner, and then we're gonna have family time after dinner."
Mm,
So it's all preset because it's important to me. Now, before I
mm,
used to not do this. So what
yeah.
would happen is it would just bleed over. I'll just be thinking about work all the time. But
Mhm,
knowing having a system like this is really important for me now. So for example, like it's like little things like I think it's important. For example, I know I work in here, but once I leave here, it's family time or it's
mm,
other time, right? So like having these boundaries you have to create for yourself is really important. And some people think it's really crazy or overly disciplined, but the truth is, like Jocko Willing says, discipline equals freedom. When you are
mm.
disciplined to the schedule, allows you to not worry about certain things. Like, if it's okay, when am I going to do this specific thing? It's on the calendar. When you're going to do it. But if it's not on the calendar, you don't know when you're going to do it. So of course you're going to stress about it.
Do you plan the day before, weeks in ahead? Like, obviously, you have your M5s. I just put it on the show notes, which is awesome. And like Jocko Williams said, the discipline equals freedom, and
Yeah.
you live and die by the calendar. Like, I find that I get either shiny object syndrome or I get distracted by something. How do you set those boundaries and stay focused? I
Yeah.
think that's a big problem that many entrepreneurs, including myself, face.
Yeah. I definitely struggle with that too. I definitely get shy. So people are like, "Oh, you have amazing focus." Actually, I get shiny thing syndrome a lot. So I engineered things in a way where it minimizes the chance of that happening. I'll give you a really simple example. So like even on my phone, it's
Hmm.
on do not disturb like automatically from 8 to 5 automatically. Right?
Really?
Yeah, no notifications come through unless it's a call from the school or, if my wife or my parents or something like that. No text come through except for that same thing as well. So it's pre-engineered. All social media is basically deactivated on my phone. So like I use an app called 1 Second. So if I have that instinct to open up social media for all the
Yeah.
apps, it
Yeah.
forced me to take a 15-second pause and choose my intention before I open the app. So like I create these barriers. So even whatever I'm naturally getting pulled away from, I've created friction to make it really
Mm.
hard. It's really intentional. So I'll give another
Mm.
example. So I used to, what am I going to eat? I'm going to be hungry. Now I eat the same thing every single day. I know it's boring for most people, but for me it works. So like I eat the same thing
Mhm.
every single day. It's preset. I get intermittent fast because
Mhm.
so I don't have to eat in the morning. So I just know
Yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna have my smoothie at this time. It's like I'm not gonna think. That's the first piece. Just like being able to create the environment to eliminate distractions is really important. Okay. Now, in terms of planning, this is really important. So every single night or evening, the one of the last things I do is I plan tomorrow. I plan tomorrow. That's it. So I literally look at the calendar. What's on the calendar? I do a system called 12-week year. Really great book if you haven't read that. 12-week year where I have 3 core big rocks and there's multiple small tasks that feed into big rocks to drive towards a bigger goal for the 12 weeks. Ideally, whatever's in the gaps in my calendar, I'm putting in things that's going to fulfill things that drive towards the 12-week year. So they're helping towards the big rocks, right? I look at my to-dos for tomorrow as well. And then I might have to add some stuff because there might be some small micro things I have to get done anyways. I put in the calendar as well. And then make sure all the tasks are completely cleared. So now tomorrow's completely planned. So now it's completely blocked out. So I know exactly what I'm gonna do. There's zero decision making. So there's no what should I do now? I got a little break. Nope. I know exactly what to do. I stick to the plan and I run the plan.
Wow.
That's the
You
first
you
piece. Yeah.
you remind me of Steve Jobs. How about your clothes? Do you wear the same thing and just
Yeah.
buy 5 sets of them? What do you
Yeah.
do?
So I have a 20 black V-necks and like a bunch of
20?
Lululemon ABC pants. Yeah, it's just like sometimes I'm wearing out a little bit, so I keep like stacking more. They're like $6 tees, and again, it won't work for everybody, but like
Yeah.
whatever you find is to be like relatively low value for you and you can automate is really great. So for me, I'm not really a fancy clothes guy anymore. So I'm like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
X tees is really simple. I don't want to think about it. Great, but I find most people, even with clothes, they have the same basics they always wear anyways.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I just took it to just one more level above. That's all I did. Like for me, I'm not trying to impress anybody. Like I'm just wearing a black V-neck. It works for me. So it's something simple like that. Now, in terms of other things I do as well, which is important, every night I journal. This really helps me.
Really?
Yeah, every night, just for 5 minutes, nothing crazy. So I'll review my life manifesto, right, which is writing my
Mhm.
big goals, where I want to go, so I get really clear on my future state I want to be at.
Mm,
And then I write down what were my wins for the day. This could be micro
mm,
or macro wins, and
mhm,
what decisions did I make for the day. So
mm,
this helps me just determine was it a good day or not. It's not about how much money I made. It's okay. Did I stick to my plan? Did I get my steps in? Did I work out? Did I plan to write website copy? Did I do that big thing that's going to help me long term wise? Whatever it's going to be, like, did I do this thing? If I made a decision about something, what was the decision? Right. So I track the decisions too because you often don't realize a decision today what the impact is in 3 6 months. So this helps me have it one place. And then how do I feel about the day? This is a little more
mm,
subjective, if you will. Just like how did I feel? Like
mm,
put my feelings in there. And then
mm,
what's my number one focus? Oh, what's one thing I learned from I could learn from today? So it's
mm.
an opportunity. And then what's my number one focus for tomorrow? That'll drive the greatest results. So again, hopefully that one thing I'm gonna put on there is gonna align to what's already in my calendar. All right. So I'm constantly reminding myself of what that thing is because we forget. We have a plan, we forget. So either remind yourself. But then the end of the week, I do the same thing. I do it for the whole week though. I audit myself. How did I
Wow.
feel about the week? What gave me energy? What took away energy? If someone came in and wanted to change the business, what would they change immediately? What's my biggest frustration right now? What challenge am I running into right now? Which will be a story I'm telling other people to inspire them in the future. What's my number one focus for next week? So it's very similar, even on a weekly basis. This helps me plan the following week. So again, what I'm doing is I'm planning today for tomorrow. So
Mm,
this way, in the moment, I don't make a weak decision. So a lot of time what people don't realize is like our willpower is usually pretty weak and
Mm.
throughout the rest of the day.
Yeah, yeah.
So we can like plan in advance and like anticipate our own weaknesses. Then
Mm.
we have a higher likelihood of hopefully showing them doing what we wanted to do. And the cool part is like when we're consistent with making a plan, sticking to it, we become more confident in ourselves and our own skills. And that's so key for success in life, relationships, sales, anything.
Wow, that's super valuable. I was listening to a video where it says the 3-2-1 principle, and I think it was a billionaire that was talking, and it was 3 hours before sleep, no food, 2 hours before sleep, no water,
Yep.
so that you don't have to take a pee break at night, and 1 hour before sleep, no screen time. And people would probably argue higher than that. And there's like yellow and red glasses, UV glasses that you can get to help minimize that
Yep.
stimulation. Two questions. You said you eat something daily. That's the same thing, which is boring. I love that. I'm curious as to what the smoothie is or what the thing that you eat is. I intermittent fast Monday through Saturday when I do church because I'm usually pretty active in my church with music. Some reason I'm starving, so I can't resist eating breakfast because it's a long day for me. What is it that you're eating daily? And when you have willpower that's weak with maybe the fitness and the nutrition, whether it's a workout or whether it's your son's about to get an ice cream or some sort of sundae that from the ice cream truck is going to not be good for your body.
Mhm.
How do you manage that? So the last question was the willpower, which is
Yep.
weak, you said. And then the second one is what do you eat and
Yep.
what smoothie?
I think the first piece of the willpower is I think it's first you have to create the identity of being that person.
Hmm.
So that's really important. It depends on whatever you do. So, for example, you told me you go to church, right?
Hmm.
That's
Hmm.
part of your identity now. So I'm sure if you don't go now, you're like, this is really weird. I feel
That is
very
right.
uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's become who you are. Or
Yeah.
same
Yeah.
thing if you brush your teeth every single day, if you stop brushing your teeth, you're like, that's just not who I am. Like I don't feel right.
Yeah.
Whether it's eating clean or working out, it has to become part of your identity. I think the
Mm.
first thing is just like building any type of habit. The first thing you have to do is if you want to say eat clean, if like I let me back up. I used to eat really unhealthy. I didn't know much about eating clean, nutrition, etc. And I
Yeah.
just love food. I grew up working in a restaurant.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know about counting calories or any of that type of stuff. So, and I grew up as a competitive swimmer, so I was used
Mm.
to literally eating 6 to 8 to 10,000 calories a day because I swam.
Whoa,
Like,
that's a lot.
yeah, I'm a teenager and I'm working out. I'm swimming like 10,000 meters a day. Like, we're
Holy
just
smokes.
destroying food. So, I'm like, just being young and also working out a lot makes you starving all the time.
Yeah.
So, as I got older, I maintained a lot of those same habits, and I didn't obviously eat that same level, but I would still eat like 4 or 5,000 calories, which is still quite a bit of calories.
Yeah.
And I wasn't like burning the same level. I didn't have the same metabolism. And I remember suddenly being like 25, 26, actually, maybe a little older than that, maybe like 27, 28.
Mhm.
And I remember looking in the mirror and like, oh, I got puffy. I've gained a little bit of weight,
Puffy.
right? I'm like,
Nice.
I'm about a decade out from that competitive swimming life anyway at that point. I'm like, whoa, like, I'm just like not really happy with it. My workout hasn't really changed. I still work out quite a bit, but
Mhm.
my diet hasn't changed either. And I think that's what's causing it. So I'm like, interesting. So like my wife and I started getting really serious about diet. And first, it's the first thing we had to do was like we had to eliminate temptation. So
Mm.
we literally got rid of any type of sweets, candy, any type of processed foods, chips, etc. in the house.
Really?
Yeah, that was the first piece. So
That must've been
unfor
hard.
yeah, so that's like we'll just make it creating friction. So if we wanted that, we had to go get in our this is before Instacart and Postmates. We had to get in our car, drive to the store. So it made it hard to even do that. That's the first piece. Now, then we also create like rules to live by. So this is what I found for successful people, they always create principles and rules to live by. So we just create some simple rules to follow that we live by for how we ate. Now, I'll say
Mm.
they were very extreme at the time. They're way too
Mm.
extreme. But like
Mm.
we started to do it and we started seeing progress. Like we started getting like really leaned out, like melting fat off. And like, wow,
Really?
this motivated us, right?
Wow.
Now, and we did for 60, we did a 60-day challenge.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
maintained it. Now it's probably too extreme. So we loosened up the rule since then, but we still pretty much live by that point. So at that point, it became
Mhm.
a habit. It just became part of who you are. So now we just eat clean. And
Wow.
even when we have an off time, we eat a little bit something unhealthy. In the grand scheme of things, it's not really that unhealthy because it's not that bad. It's not as bad as what we used to eat. So
Mm.
that's my little my build up to that. If you're trying to
Yeah.
work out, same thing. Like the first step is you have to remove the friction. So let's just say, for example, okay, to work out, I gotta go to the gym.
Yeah.
I gotta get my stuff. Or I gotta drive the gym. I gotta get myself, drive the gym, do all this stuff and start to work out. That's really hard.
Mhm.
versus, okay, let me start simple. What, like, I'm becoming a workout person, but what if I start off with 10 push-ups a day and 10 sit-ups a day?
Hmm.
Start with that first. Once you
Mhm.
do that, okay, cool. Hey, you know what? Next week, 20.
Mhm.
You can start building up. So I think if you start
Mhm.
thinking this way, you can stair stack the wins, and ultimately over time, you will become that person. So for me now, when I don't eat clean, when I don't work out, I feel guilty because it's
Mm.
part of my identity now. So that's
Mm.
how you want to start thinking about how can I become the person by creating that identity. And this is for anything. In sales, same thing. If you want, I remember I mentioned before, I used to have a speech impediment. I had trouble
Mm.
speaking.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
So I didn't start speaking until I was 4 years old.
Come on.
And I'd go to speech therapy class for years. In fact, it still
Wow.
pops out even to this day,
No way.
but I knew I wanted to be a good speaker.
Yeah.
I knew I wanted to be a good conversationalist. So I had to work on it just like anything else. So it became part of my identity to work on it. So ultimately, who you are and who you want to become is determined by you. So you have to decide that. So you do these tough things. So that's first thing. So now in terms of what do I eat now? Again, like this works for me. You don't have to do it. Nobody else has to do it. This works for me. So typically, 6 days out of the week, I'll intermittent fast. So
Mhm.
meaning I usually will start eating around like 11 and then
Mhm.
stop eating by 7, 7:30, roughly. It's a rough rule. I don't
Mhm.
need perfect to it, right?
Yeah.
It's like a roughly a 16-hour eating window, roughly, or
Yeah, yeah.
no eating window. Okay.
Okay.
One day a week, I do a 24-hour fast.
Every week.
Yeah, once a week. Now, last year, and I just really enjoy the mental it's more of a mental challenge. That's all it is.
Mm.
There's something to be said when you choose to do hard things that make you uncomfortable to see how well you
Mm.
do. It wasn't about
Mm.
losing weight. Can I do it? Like, and now I've been doing it now for almost 6 months or 5 months now.
Wow.
Now become part of
Congratulations.
who I am. I mean, this is what I do. I just fast once a week for 24 hours. It's not crazy. It's just once I have dinner, I just don't eat till dinner the next day. That's it.
Okay.
Anyways, going back to what I eat. So typically, the first thing I'll have a smoothie, right? So it's around usually 11 or 12, kind of depending on my schedule, right?
Uh-huh.
It's a pretty big smoothie though. I have a Vitamix, which is a pretty big blender. That
Yep.
whole thing is basically filled with smoothie. Okay, so it is. I don't even measure it out. It's probably like half of it's frozen blueberries,
Mhm.
a handful of spinach, a whole avocado. I'll do 2 scoops of vegan protein powder. So that's about 40 grams of protein right there.
Yep, yep.
Um, and then a banana. That's the general thing. Sometimes I'll add in some like some flaxseed. Sometimes I'll add in some pine nuts. Sometimes I'll add some Greek yogurt. But that's like usually like that by itself is that's like meal number one. It's huge. It's full. So I'll have
Yeah.
that around 11 or 12.
Wow.
Couple of hours after that, I'll have a handful of almonds, usually between 7 to 14 almonds, right?
Yeah.
It just fills you up very easily. Couple hours
Yeah.
after that, I'll usually have 1 to 2 cups of Greek yogurt with honey. So it depends on my hunger that day. So again,
Mhm.
this is a very high protein diet. So by that point, it's 80 grams of protein by probably 2, 3 o'clock. And then if I'm still feeling hunger pains, I'll get a can of tuna, which is usually another 20 to 30 grams of protein. And I'll
Wow.
have a can of tuna just by itself, maybe put some hot sauce on top of it. And
Mhm.
then at that point, we're getting close to dinner. Then because I make dinner 6 nights out of the week. So
What?
yeah, yeah. So
You get the husband of the year award.
I just wanna make sure remember, go back to the M for marriage. I'm going back to
Wow.
that part. We'll eat relatively clean. So pretty much all our dinners are like a lot of veggies,
Hmm.
lean meats or tofu. We only eat meat maybe 2, 3 times a week, and then usually minimal carbs, right? A lot of veggies and a lot of meats. So, like, the carbs could be if it's carbs, it's gonna be complex carbs. So it'll be quinoa, it'll be
Mm.
brown rice, but for most part, it's gonna be and we'll have legumes as well. So we'll have maybe garbanzo beans mixed in or black beans, something like that, just so it's a little more filling as well. But that's pretty consistent. Like, it's become who we are. Now we do have 1 cheat meal a week, though. So, yeah, we 1 cheat meal a week. So this helps offset because I'm human.
Yeah, yeah.
I love candy. I love sweets. I love salty snacks. I love all those
Yeah.
things.
Yeah,
So this
yeah.
allows me that opportunity to be able to have that cheat meal. So, for example, if I know it's my kid wants ice cream or something, we're out somewhere, he wants it, I won't get anything.
You
Because
won't
I
get it?
know I won't get anything because I know I have something to look forward to on Friday night. I'm like, I might have ice cream Friday night then. So what happens is again, it's become part of my identity. But on top of that, this trains you to have more mental discipline to do the things that
Mm.
are really hard, to be able to delay self gratification. So that is just one of those little things that I do. But this works for me. I'm not saying anyone else should do this, but this just works for me. And I think the key is you find something that works for you or people watching or listening to this. So this way it fits within their lifestyle. So you feel good. And on top of that, because we eat really healthy, this improves my sleep quality drastically as well. Because when
Mm,
you eat clean, you sleep better and you also think better as well. If you eat something heavy and processed, your brain
mhm,
is foggy. You can't think as well.
mm.
Versus when you eat clean, completely different.
So in terms of sleep quality, and I know I'm taking your time, so do want to land the plane. Sleep quality, like how much sleep are you getting? What time do you try to go to sleep?
Yeah.
What time do you try to wake up? And how do you get that sleep quality to be at the highest level?
So sleep is like my hardest thing because I have sleep
Mm.
apnea. So
Oh,
I
no
have
way.
a CPAP and everything. So I'm not a great sleeper. So
Okay.
I'm working on this for years. So
Mm.
typically I try to go to sleep about 10 o'clock. A lot of it depends on when my kid goes to sleep. So he goes to sleep late.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's 10, usually about 10 to 6. So I used to order, I track all my sleep, but we do these things. Like I'm one of those guys. Yeah, we have red lights upstairs in the bedroom area after 9 o'clock. I got red
You
light filters on my phone. Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm auto temperature drops down to 68 at night.
whoa.
I go even cooler if I can. My wife would kill me though. It
Yeah.
goes to 68 at 9 p.m. So it's cooling the house down. Warms up at 5
Wow.
p.m.
Yeah.
5 a.m. Excuse me. And then, but we have blackout curtains, red lights everywhere.
Whoa. Come on.
Yeah. So I sleep with like a weighted blanket as well. And I'm really
Wow.
consistent in our routine. So it's every night I try to go sleep at the same time. I track everything. So I track my M5 I mentioned. I track my sleep. I have a whole separate like tracker for this that I actually use ChatGPT to actually process the data. That's a whole different
Wow.
thing. This past month, I think when I looked today, I think I'm averaging like 6 hours and 45 minutes. So I'm trying to
Wow.
get at least 7 hours.
Yeah, yeah.
But you can kinda see, like, even though I'm in bed for about 8 hours, I can't get that full amount of time. Most people don't actually. My resting heart rate's been averaging 44 beats per minute.
Whoa, that's low.
So it's actually a little higher than usual. So usually I run 39 to 40. So I'm not really sure
How?
why it's actually increased this past month. And I put little data points. I'm like, why did it actually increase? I'm not really sure why. And it's still very low in the grand scheme of things. And then my REM was, I think it was like total minutes was like 38 minutes. And ideally for
Oh,
me, it's supposed to be
that's
at least
low.
60.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like 60 plus. So I struggle with that. My deep I've been working on. So I think I'm like an hour, a little over an hour. So, but like some people are just better at that as well. So I've been trying to
Mm.
hack it. Like my wife, an incredible sleeper. So she could sleep less time. She could sleep 5 hours, but she may have 2 hours of deep, 2 hours of REM. So she's like a really efficient, good sleeper.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And that's really important for like, mental recovery, mental health, cleaning out the brain, if you will.
Mhm.
So I'm always trying to hack and trying to improve in different ways. And I think a mistake a lot of people make is, oh, I'm a good sleeper. I fall asleep easily, whatever. Oh, I sleep like a rock. That's how you feel. But what's the data tell
Mm.
you? Did you truly go
Yeah,
into did you
and
truly
I
go
have the Aura Ring. What are your ready and sleep scores?
okay, let's take a look here. My readiness score, let's see. Last night was 78. Okay.
78, okay.
And then last night my sleep score was 72.
Okay, 78.
Yeah,
That's
my
7.
restfulness was all over the place. REM was 51 minutes last night. Deep was 38 minutes last night. Oh, hold on, that's the
Mm,
wrong day. Last night my REM was 51 minutes, and my deep sleep was an hour 21 minutes. Yeah,
mhm.
yeah.
So this is the Aura Ring for people who don't know what this is. Can you just, describe in a very short, concise manner what this is? And because people think it's just a ring. They don't know that's a smart ring.
Yeah. It's basically a nutshell. It's a sleep tracker that is on your finger at all times. There's some people have like Apple Watch, some people have a Whoop. I like the Aura
Mhm.
Ring personally, just because I think
Yeah,
it's
me
really
too.
sleek and really clean.
Yeah.
I'm not really a smartwatch person, so I like something simple and clean that works really, really well for me. But I personally love it. My wife loves it too, so she's a big fan too, because it has other benefits for women. So
Oh,
there's like period tracking and other things as well, so she can see when her cycle is like going, when things are on and off. It's really actually quite amazing. So it's wow.
mm,
She's
and
like
it's accurate?
yeah, it's very accurate. So she's been using it for 3 years now. Once I got mine, I loved it so much I got her one.
Your resting heart rate, and then we'll just bring this to a close, 33 to 44, I think that's what you said. My
30,
resting rate
38, 38, 39 usually is usually what's
that's like a marathon runner, someone who's in top shape. Mine's at I think last night was like 49. I'm
that's a pretty
usually
good
in
idea. Yeah.
50s and sometimes even 60s. So how the heck do you get resting heart rates at that low? Are you doing 3 hours of cardio a day? What the heck?
Um, no, so I think there's other things that kind of impact that, like which is important. Like for number one, yeah, I do eat pretty clean, so that I've noticed
Mm,
like if I eat a heavy meal,
hmm,
almost always, or if I don't
hmm,
eat clean, it's like a cheat meal. Oh yeah, it's like definitely way high for me.
Yeah.
That's number one. Number two is the bedtime routine stuff is really important as well. It
Mm.
helps as well. Number three, working out. So like I'm pretty consistent in my workout. One of my theories of why my resting heart rate is actually a little higher this month than usual
Mhm.
is I was usually swim at least once a week. So, I don't do that much cardio actually. Cardio is really I swim once a week and I get 10K in steps every single day. That's really my cardio at the max. This
Wow.
past month, I haven't really swam except for one time. I just my schedule's been a little off, so I've run instead. It's not the same level. So I'm like,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
maybe that's it. I don't really know. And I think that the last piece is genetics. I think genetics, I'm sure,
Mm.
probably plays a big part, right? I don't know how much, but I'm sure it plays a big part as well. Actually, and also probably the next to last piece is I've also been like actively working out since I was 9 years old. Like
What?
yeah,
9?
yeah, so I started competitive swimming at that age. So
Oh, I see.
I'll swim an hour a day at that age, and since that point, I don't really take any days off from working out. So I literally work out every single day. Like
Really?
I'll get
7 days a week?
7 days a week, right? Now I'll
Holy.
get if it's not at the gym, I'll get movement in regardless. So I'll make sure I get movement that day as well, regardless. So I'm sure just a compounding effect. It's not necessarily like I'm running like 20 miles a day, but
Yeah.
just like the consistency now for 30 years of doing this, I'm sure it has some sort of compounding effect. Maybe combined
Mm.
with genetics, eating healthy, that maybe gives me this like kind because I'm actually a non-cardio guy.
Me
Like
too.
I hate running. Like
I hate running too.
I can't remember the last time I ran over a mile. Just like not into that at all. Plus, I like foot problems. I'm like, I'm just not into it.
Oh, yeah. Okay, really?
Yeah. So probably all this combined together has given me kind of a relatively low resting heart rate.
That's incredible. I think that's a great way to wrap up because we talk about discipline, we talk about focus, we talked about delayed gratification, we talked about leading into the pain. And this is what has all made you in this journey of this sales master, this sales coach, this four-time Salesforce top sales influencer, Wall Street Journal best-selling author, and so many more. You've put the work in. Clearly, the compound interest with delayed gratification, the intermittent fasting. If you haven't tried melatonin, gummies, my gosh, they're doing some pretty amazing things for my REM. An hour and a half to hour 40.
Wow.
So pretty efficient. So that's pretty cool.
I should test.
Yeah, test it, see if it works. But I just really appreciate, the time, the care, the M5 strategy, the 6 nights a week that you do with the cooking. The stuff that people actually don't see and hear about is the things that really stand up for me, in addition to your sales mastery skills, obviously. And I really appreciate you sharing your life, your tips, your advice, your strategies from life to marriage to sales to how did you get to the secret of closing 55% of your sales and get a 98%, if not even 100% show up. So any last words for any entrepreneurs, online course creators, and or B2B business owners that are listening that you want to encourage them with?
Mhm. Yeah, I'll say one last thing. And I think some people who watch it are like, wow, it's crazy you do all these things. I think one of the most important things is I've worked really hard on myself for the last several decades, which is
Mm,
trying to live authentically, be the best version of me, right? So it's
mm,
not just not trying to separate, like, hey, I'm a business owner or I'm this type of person. What are the values and mission? What type of person do you want to be? And how can you show up every single day in the activities and things that you do? And I've found when you work really hard on yourself, that's when the amazing results start to occur and start to happen for you as a result. I love the Jim Rohn quote, which is if you work hard at your job, you only make a living. When you work hard on
mm,
yourself, you make a fortune. And I found that to be really, really true. That's
mm,
why with all these things we shared today, it's like it's doing all these right things consistently so you can create the identity of being a top performer in whatever it is that you do. And when you are really congruent across the board with everything in your life, it's amazing how opportunities become far more attracted to you as a default. So it was an absolute pleasure, my man. Thank you so much for having me on today.